Dear friends, I'm sorry that I can't address you live this afternoon and that I need to send this video message. However, it's a real honor for me to speak today about Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg of blessed memory. As you know, she passed away at age 87 on September the 18th this past year, on the very eve of Rosh Hashanah. I was shocked, like many of you, when I heard the news of her death in the midst of services. As we watched virtually, my rabbi simply broke down in tears as the news was whispered to her on the bima. PBS's Nina Totenberg, her longtime friend, wrote, "A Jewish teaching says that those who died just before the Jewish New Year are the ones God has held back until the last moment because they are needed most and were the most righteous." That thought was expressed by many rabbis throughout the country that day. But long before her passing, and while she became known in the general public as the notorious RBG, among Jews who admired her, she was always Ruth the Tzaddik, Ruth the righteous one. What raised her to that rarefied level of Jewish righteousness? You'll soon all be learning about her life as you virtually tour the Maltz Museum. But before you visit the exhibit, let me add some context about her life as a Jew and the Jewish values that guided her legal career. She was born in Brooklyn in 1933, raised in the Jewish neighborhood of Midwood, grew up in an observant home, and attended the East Midwood Jewish Center, a conservative congregation. She attended Jewish summer camp in the Adirondacks, where she was unofficially called the camp's junior rabbi, and she led Shabbat prayers. But betraying her deep feminist roots at age 17, she became disillusioned when her mother died and Ruth was unable to be counted in the minyan during Shiva. In a speech at the Sixth and I Synagogue in Washington, D.C. in 2008, she said that even though there was a house full of women, no prayer was held because 10 men weren't present. Despite that experience, she remained deeply rooted in her Judaism. At Cornell University as an undergraduate, she remembered that all the Jewish girls were put in the same dormitory corridor so that they wouldn't contaminate the other students. That's what she wrote. She and her husband sent their children to Hebrew school, and her granddaughter called her Bubby. So she was very deeply Jewish in her being. She visited Israel for the first time in 1970 and was a regular visitor until very close to her death. She loved Israel, the ideals on which it was established, and also in the supremacy of the rule of law in that democracy. She was also deeply committed to Holocaust remembrance and education. Upon receiving an award in 2004 at the U.S. Holocaust Memorial Museum, she said, "In our long struggle for a more just world, our memories are among our most important resources. Indeed, a more just world, justice, which is tzedek in Hebrew, that was Ruth Bader Ginsburg's guiding principle. In fact, she repeatedly reminded people that in her Supreme Court chambers, she had a framed print, and I had the same one, which states the Hebrew imperative, tzedek, tzedek tirdof, justice, justice shall thou pursue. It comes from the Torah, from Deuteronomy, chapter 16, line 18. It's not justice may you pursue or justice should you pursue, it's shall. It's an imperative, a commandment. Justice Bader Ginsburg said once, "The Jewish religion is an ethical religion. That is, we are taught to do right, to love mercy, to do justice," and there's that key word again, "not because there's going to be any reward in heaven. We live righteously because that's how people should live. And that's what she wrote. A number of years ago, the American Jewish Committee sponsored op-eds in the New York Times where people were asked the following question: what does being Jewish mean to me? Allow me to quote from that op-ed, which appeared in the Times on January the 14th, 1996, not long after she was appointed to the Supreme Court. You can find it on Google. It's very much worth reading in its entirety. She wrote in part, "There is an age-old connection between Judaism and the law. For centuries, rabbis and other Jewish scholars have studied, restudied, and ceaselessly interpreted the Talmud. In the United States, law became the bulwark against the kind of oppression Jews had endured in many lands for countless generations. Laws as protectors of the oppressed, of the poor, and of the lonely, those are evident in the work of my Jewish predecessors on the Supreme Court. The biblical command, justice, justice shall thou pursue, is a strand that ties them together." And she concluded by writing, "I am a judge born, raised, and proud of being a Jew. The demand for justice runs through the entirety of the Jewish tradition. I hope in my years ahead on the bench of the Supreme Court, I will have the strength and courage to remain constant in the service of that demand." Ruth Bader Ginsburg did not disappoint us on her 27 years on the High Court, and she surely did not disappoint herself. Through her pursuit of justice, she expressed her deepest Jewish outlook on life. It's an outlook which we can all learn from. She is certainly the righteous person that brings us all together today. May Ruth Bader Ginsburg memory be a blessing, but also be an inspiration for all of us. Thank you.